So the Bloodline absolutely destroyed Paul Heyman on SmackDown. Paul Heyman would not acknowledge Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. This was an awesome segment. I loved how this played out. What's going to happen though with Roman Reigns? What's going to happen to Paul Heyman? When will he return? We're going to talk about all of that right now on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about SmackDown's main event segment. And really, when they started off the show, we got that big six-man brawl. You had the Bloodline and you had Cody and RKO, Team RKO coming out there, and it all just broke up into a giant schmoz. You had Nick Aldis, you had the police, the security guards that took them all out. That is setting up, obviously, their Money in the Bank match, where we are going to get the six-man tag. Now, for that six-man tag, before we get into the Paul Heyman stuff, the six-man tag match, I really believe that you're going to have Bloodline go over. Bloodline, to me, needs to stay strong right now. You need to have it, in my opinion, where they're really showing their dominance, and I think we got more clues to that with this demise, the taking out of Paul Heyman on the end of SmackDown. I think you need to be able to show that the Bloodline is dominant, scary, not to be messed with, because for me, Solo Sikoa, again, he is not the tribal chief to a lot of people. He just lacks that, I don't know, that dominance. He's not scary. Solo is not scary to me, like Jacob Fatu is scary. Now, if Jacob Fatu came out and said he was tribal chief, then I think everyone's terrified. But he doesn't have that aura. And you know what? I think that almost does play into everything. Like, Cody talks about how Solo Sikoa is basically like sitting on the bench. He is not the real tribal chief. Cody says in the promo that he has dealt with the real Bloodline and this is not it. He's defeated the Bloodline. But this new chapter of everything is so interesting because there are so many dynamics at play and you have so many characters, so many people of the roster involved in it, from Cody, Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, Team RKO. You got so many different elements going on, and that's what makes it very intriguing and why SummerSlam could be a big deal. So when it comes to the Money in the Bank six-man match, I think it's going to be just giant brawl, tons of fun, but you do, in my opinion, need to have Bloodline go over so that they can propel their dominance. They've taken out Paul Heyman, then they could say that they took out Cody Rhodes' whole team, and they can move on to possibly a title match at SummerSlam. Now, a lot of the early reports were that we were going to get Solo versus Cody at SummerSlam for the title. That could still be the program. That is not an intriguing match, in my opinion. Jacob Fatu is the intriguing match. Jacob Fatu versus Cody Rhodes. Give me that for the title, and Jacob Fatu wins. Jacob looks like he could just mess everybody up. Like, with him coming in and doing so little, but so effective. And by the way, his entrance theme, top drawer. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think Jacob Fatu will play a huge role in everything they do going forward. But I do think that if you are going to get Solo versus Cody match at SummerSlam, on paper, not that intriguing, but it's the entire story behind it that's really going to elevate the whole thing. Now, moving on into the rest of SmackDown, you did get the Bloodline ceremony where you are going to have all the members of the Bloodline out there with Paul Heyman, and you had the proper introduction of Jacob Fatu coming out. Let me know what you guys think, because Jacob Fatu's entrance theme, banger. The fire going off with it tied in so well together. You had the crowd at Madison Square Garden, which is just epic. You had crazy crowd response, and you could hear it with the crowd when they introduced Jacob Fatu. They didn't give him just some generic Bloodline theme. He got his own Trons, his own theme that is scary, and I swear you could hear it from the crowd's response of them oohing and just kind of feeling it in the moment with Jacob Fatu coming out. He is the wild card in all of this. He is the wolf, or whatever they're calling him. Jacob Fatu is going to have a massive run in WWE. Like, the opponents you could put him up against and just crazy stories, and the guy can go, and he's in phenomenal shape now. So when you have the new Bloodline coming out, one thing that was great detail, and Paul Heyman has done this before, is he looks disheveled. He's all bloodshot in the eyes. He looks like he hasn't slept. He's got all the scruff. He's not clean shaven. He doesn't look all proper Paul Heyman. He looks really broken. All from the events of like last week with Punk and everything else that came with it. And then you are just having this Paul Heyman who's just so broken with it, and they want everyone to acknowledge Solo Sikoa. So in that main event segment, you do have all members of the Bloodline, plus the newest member, Jacob Fatu, all acknowledging Solo Sikoa as their tribal chief. Solo has the Ula Fala, the necklace, the lei that Roman Reigns would wear. And then we end up having Solo telling Paul Heyman to put it on him and acknowledge him as his tribal chief. And then we get this epic moment.
Acknowledge you are not my tribal.
This was so heavy, it had so much weight to it, because I think not only it's just the build, Paul Heyman has turned into this sympathetic character, WWE TV, for the last couple of months. They have built to this, and they give us this moment, this kind of crescendo in Madison Square Garden. There's a lot of history of Paul Heyman and MSG, and the crowd is waiting for that moment to see, is Paul gonna do it? Is he going to put it on Solo Sikoa? And when Paul Heyman says he does not acknowledge him as his tribal chief, it was brilliant. The crowd popped huge. The crowd has popped massive for Paul Heyman. They baby-faced Paul Heyman. You gotta understand what that is. Like, Paul Heyman is the slime ball. He is the guy, the manipulator. He is the heel. He's been that way forever. You can never fully trust Paul Heyman. And with this storyline and the way Paul Heyman has worked for several months now, they have turned him into a babyface. You now want Roman Reigns to come back. You want Paul Heyman to come back by his side. You want them to take down the Bloodline. It's a brilliant piece of storytelling. So when Paul Heyman does not acknowledge Solo Sikoa, he stands up for himself finally. And again, this is what's wild. The crowd is cheering. We're on the side of Paul Heyman now. And look where we were when we started the Bloodline storyline to where it is today. And we're not even close to being done. You get a Samoan spike from Solo to Paul Heyman. Paul sells everything so well too. Like, he does a really good job for somebody who never gets physical in anything. This was huge. Paul Heyman does not get involved. So this meant a lot for storyline purposes to have Paul Heyman getting this physical. But then you had Jacob Fatu doing the giant splash to Paul Heyman. They ripped him out of the ring. They gave him a triple power bomb, possibly a little bit of an homage to the Shield, and they triple power bombed Paul Heyman through the announce table. The digital exclusive showed after that you were getting Paul Heyman ushered out by medical staff, thrown into the ambulance, and he was gone. And the Bloodlines left standing tall, where they're just chanting F you Solo. And throughout the night too, they're chanting We Want Roman. Even the beginning segment, they're chanting We Want Roman. The long-term storytelling that WWE is doing with a lot of their stories from Judgment Day and the Bloodline, it's telling me and showing me that, like, I gotta have a lot of patience here. Because you would expect normally in, like, the previous administration under Vinnie Mac, stuff would be happening so fast week to week, and there would be no story thread. Like, stuff wouldn't make total sense, and they would fast track and skip story beats. This could go on for so long. And the question is of when Roman Reigns is going to return. Because now we are about to have, at some point, and it could be not until WrestleMania when Roman Reigns finally returns, but we are about to get the big Roman Reigns babyface run that I think WWE has wanted. By doing this to me is the catalyst to really solidify Roman Reigns as a face when he does eventually return. You write Paul Heyman off TV, in my opinion, for months. You don't want Paul on TV. Now you have this chaotic, anarchy-based bloodline. No one can control them. They're probably all doing this because of The Rock, really. Like, that's probably what this is. Because Solo can say he is the tribal chief, but The Rock is final boss. So does it go to SummerSlam? A lot of people will speculate that, and I would have thought too, that, okay, you just get Roman to come back at SummerSlam, fight Solo Sikoa. Well, I think you are probably going to get that Cody Solo match, Cody retaining, but maybe by disqualification and just bloodline chaos. I think you need to have a big story beat at SummerSlam. That story beat could be the return of Roman Reigns. It could be him coming out with Paul Heyman, or Paul Heyman just coming out on the stage and the crowd pops huge for Paul, and then he turns and he brings out his tribal chief, and the crowd will go absolutely insane whenever Roman Reigns comes back. But I think what they are going to build towards is that key moment of Paul Heyman coming back, being the babyface, getting a giant babyface response out of Paul Heyman, to then not only get a bigger pop of Roman Reigns coming back and taking on and finally challenging the Bloodline, thinking that they run everything, and the crowd is going to eat it up. Like, man, this is going to be massive run for Roman as a face, and he's not going to be on TV every week. He ain't going to wrestle hardly ever. We're probably going to get a match at either, could be SummerSlam. I really do think that they will build to the War Games match with Roman Reigns. That would be my thought process of all of this. And you will get a Bloodline versus Roman, probably Jimmy and Jay, and you could add in Cody, and you could make it really cool, and you could add in Sami Zayn, but you could get a combination of just old Bloodline versus new Bloodline at War Games. And that could be the big match. And that could be the one match Roman does, so he could show up potentially at SummerSlam to get the crowd response, to get the pop, to set up the rest of the story. And then you could get to Survivor Series, do War Games between the two, and then you probably don't, in my opinion, you don't see Roman Reigns really and doing any matches until WrestleMania. And the Mania match could be him versus The Rock. But right now, it could be him versus Jacob Fatu for all I know. But here's the thing. I don't know if we are going to get the War Games match. I don't know what they're going to do. WWE is leaving me guessing a lot of the times right now with what they're doing with their stories. They could play this out for a very long time. Like, we could get War Games could be entirely different. We could just not get Roman Reigns yet. They could be building and wait until WrestleMania for Rock Roman. They may not do Rock Roman this year. We don't know. And that's the fun part of all of this too. But how would you book Roman Reigns coming back? Is it an appearance at SummerSlam? Is it saved? Is it going to be at War Games? What do you do? But I do think that this segment with Paul Heyman, New Bloodline, was fantastic. And like I said, Jacob Fatu is my MVP so far, and I can't wait to see what they do with him. And guys, if you want to talk more WWE news, coverage, updates, all that good stuff, click right here because we got way more content coming at you. Have a great day. See ya.